Welcome to Biker Life Radio with Chuck and Deb, heard each Wednesday afternoon on 1490 AM WWPR. And now, here's Chuck and Deb.
Hi, I'm Chuck
and Deb,
and welcome to Biker Life Radio. We're so truly grateful and thankful that you've joined us today. Of course, we have a fantastic show lined up just for you.
Biker Life Radio is for those who ride and those who inspire to ride. We are here to reveal the truth behind the motorcycle mystique and bring real-life stories of the biker lifestyle.
All right, and you have some sponsors we'd like to acknowledge. And before we get started, let me just say that we do have some sponsors, or from time to time, that we may be affiliates from. So that means if you do purchase any products on this show, we may earn a small commission, which actually goes to help the show. So we hope that you'll find some of our products interesting
and valuable. Today's show sponsor is Tony and Guy Hairdressing Academy out of Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So if you're ready to crank up your engines, chins in the wind, knees in the breeze, seats in the saddle, then hang on and let's get rolling.
Let's get rolling. All right. We've got some fans, it looks like, today.
It does. I'm so excited because we've got a great show lined up.
Yeah, we actually really do. It's going to be a fantastic show. And we just want to, say hey to everybody. We have all been stuck inside for, a week or so now. About a week or so, Deb?
We have been.
The days just sort of goes.
It has been probably a week. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. To me, it doesn't really matter.
No.
There's some people that say I'm locked up and I'm in jail and I'm, whatever. I'm really enjoying the downtime where I don't have to worry about going anywhere, doing anything, being any place, and any of that fun stuff. So.
Yeah, it's actually been pretty nice, pretty relaxing and kick back. We still have to, we have work outside of the radio show. So that's where we have to prepare for people and keep people safe. And that's our job duties. So that can be rather stressful. But hanging out at home, it's been pretty cool, hasn't it, Deb?
It's been great.
We haven't really gotten in any fights or anything that I can recall that I have lost anyway, or that you have won.
No, that's true. I don't win, and I'm right there doing it with you. So, we have a great time. We have fun in the house, just hanging out, doing what we do. And so keeping busy, doing lots of great work, and I'm loving it.
It is. Actually, we are getting a lot done.
Yes.
I mean, we're not sitting around. We never sit around and twiddle our fingers or our thumbs or anything like that. We're always doing something and keeping busy. And we hope that you folks out there, I was telling Deb the other day, I would feel for you guys that have small children at home and families. I think that would be extra tough on you guys, add some extra stress in your life. And you've got the kids that you've got to watch out for and care for. And you got to keep them busy. I mean, kids get rambunctious, especially when they're locked up in the house. So just know that our thoughts and prayers are with you on that, because you probably need that a little bit.
Right. I was talking to someone yesterday, a mom that has 3 young small children. And so what I was recommending to her is just be sure and take a nice hot warm bath at the end of the evening, because it's very well deserved at this time. Just relax, unwind, and kick back.
Chill out. Now's a good time to do a lot of things. As a matter of fact, we're working on a product. That's what we've been working on, that we think actually suits, what's going on right now and can help people, maybe change where they're at. There's,
right.
A lot of people out of jobs, which is very unfortunate. But we're optimistic. We're very optimistic about when the economy comes back, when we are able to get out of the house and get back to work. We're excited about that. We're optimistic about that, and we actually don't think that this is going to last as long. We've been really, hoping. I mean, the problem with it is you do get a little bit frustrated when you can't get the right message. It's like wishy-washy messages all the time.
Right.
And so I can understand where somebody might get a little bit frustrated, that it's like we're not getting everything. We don't know everything we need to know. And it's like the people that need to know, they don't know.
Right.
And that's what maybe causes a little bit of frustration. So we can understand that a little bit, but we're going to come out of this. This is
right.
We're tough. I mean, this too shall pass. It will all work out just fine. No doubt.
Yep. We are truly a resilient country and a resilient people. And although it's uncomfortable because we're going into places that it's new for all of us, if we just stick together and keep working on getting the solution, and as everybody keeps talking about, doing our part to make things better, then you know what? We're all going to be great when it all comes down to it. And we just got to keep the faith that that's going to happen. And that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, we're actually making the best of it. We hope that you and your family are making the best of it. There's a lot of things that you could be doing right now. I know I've seen a lot of people out in the yard doing some yard work and things like that. So we're all for that. I mean, this is a time like we talked about last week with Brian. It's an opportunity to maybe do some reflection and to maybe redefine and reinvent yourself. And so it's a good time to be doing some interpersonal work, if you ask me. It's a good time to do some reflection.
Right.
They got a lot of time to do that. And it's also a really prime opportunity time to drink a lot.
Well, maybe if you enjoy that. But the other thing I think is that, sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day life of living and families and busy families and with children and all sorts of stuff. So, that hobby or that task that you got rid of, if you stopped journaling, if you stopped reading, if life just got really hectic, now's the time to redefine not only who you are, but where you want to go when this all gets back into full motion, because it is, anytime there's a major circumstance in life, whether it's a layoff or downsize or, what we're going through right now with this pandemic, it's time to reflect. It's time to maybe pick a new choice, pick a new direction, and figure out what's best for you and where you want to be.
Yeah, I think it's a prime opportunity. If you've lost your job, don't look on the negative side of it. Look on the positive side of it. You've got so many days throughout this month. I mean, because they're looking at this 30-day quarantine. So you've got till the rest of the month to actually formulate a plan. You can actually maybe decide you don't want a job. Maybe you want to work less and ride more. And
That's me.
And so, think of it, have a positive outlook on everything. Yeah, it can be tough. It can be frustrating. It can be confusing. But don't let that get to you. There's a lot of things that you can do to actually make turn a positive outlook on everything. And number one is to keep busy. Like you said, journaling is one way, Deb. There's many different ways that we can actually express ourselves rather than keeping it all in and all bottled up, because there's a lot that you can do around the house. Many things that can be done. So
right.
We've got what's really neat is we've got a really neat guest that's coming on right here, right now. And he puts it in really good perspective for us. So what we're going to do is get started. We want you to stay through to the entire show, because we got Dutch with Raw and Unapologetic coming up, and we'll wrap things up at the end. But you want to hear all of the show, so stay tuned.
My gears are cranked up into high gear today because we have an extremely special guest that has such a varied background. Steve will be joining us here in just a moment on the line, but the one thing that I absolutely think is phenomenal about Steve, and this is what I remember, I call him Steve the Greek.
Right.
And the reason is because the one ride we did years ago that was really kind of the signature of meeting Steve the Greek is that he took us on a great ride. Now, I'm not just saying great ride. It was a great beach ride from our location all the way up the beach to Tarpon Springs to have this phenomenal fish meal. And I remember him very vividly. It was a Greek restaurant, and he was telling us about this one particular meal that he gets, a fish, and I just remember the detail of that. So, Steve, are you on the line with us?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so glad to have you on the show.
Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and that was a great ride.
Oh, it actually, Steve, it's my favorite ride. It's one that I would do to this day that I loved so much. I love that entire ride. How we went all the way up the beach, and just had a great lunch and just a great time all together. But fantastic ride, and again, one of my favorites. And you led the ride.
Oh yes, and you can't hang out with Greeks and not have a good time and or a good meal.
And we found that to be very true.
Absolutely right, boy. We know firsthand. Yeah. Now, the Greek restaurant, if you'll remind me the name of it, because I know it's your favorite up in that area.
Well, we went to 2 different trips up there. Did you go to both trips or just one?
I think we did both.
Well, I'm thinking we only did the first trip. We were unable to make the second trip. But
I think you went to the one where we ate at Costas.
Okay, yes, probably. Familiar? Yes.
Yeah, Costas. And, of course, one of my favorite things to get when I go to a Greek restaurant is the whole fish.
Right.
And they boil it, and it's delicious. And I always make sure it faces my wife because she can't stand it. and I like to live on the edge. So but that's normally what I get. You really need to eat with us and eat what we call a mezze. That is when we go and one person will order a bunch of things and maybe 3 different waves of food. And we all share, and your palate just dances the whole time. We get to eat a little bit of everything. And that's a fun way that we eat. But normally when we go with a group, everyone wants their own food. You know, it's mine, all mine. But traditionally how we eat in Greece, we just get a bunch of stuff we'll share.
Just kind of share, put it all on the table, and everyone just kind of grab and pick and share. I love that concept. That's a great way to do it, and try a little bit of everything. So fantastic. Yeah, I remember looking at your meal saying, okay, it looked amazing, but I just don't know that I could do the whole fish too. So I'm with Sharon on that one. But you can make it look at me. It doesn't bother me.
Well, yesterday I made my authentic Greek sauce that took me 3 trips to Greece to learn how to make from my father. So I've got one for you put aside.
Excellent.
I had a diced all the tomatoes myself. It took me 6 hours to make it.
Wow.
And I just love cooking Greek food. It's a lot of fun. And I've been there 11 times. So when I cook Greek food, I'm also going by memory of being there and experiencing it. And it is an experience, which is what you're talking about with that bike ride. We had a great time.
Yep, it was a great time. I actually even remember asking you, Steve, what should I order? And I think I did get a fish. I don't know what type of fish, but I did get a fish, and I enjoyed it. I don't remember it so long ago, but
yeah. And one of the things we order is called octoposi, which is an octopus. That's Greek for octopus.
Oh.
And I tell you, my daughter, my youngest daughter, she loved octopus. To this day, if you ask her what her favorite food is, she'll say octopus. And when she was about 3 years old, I'll never forget. We just bought her an ice cream cone. We were in Neapoli, right on the water where my father's village is. And my daughter had an ice cream cone. She took her first bite, and then we would have ouzo and octopus, you know, maybe an hour before dinner. And the waiter came and put the octopus, little dish of octopus with lemon and a couple toothpicks right on the table. And she threw her ice cream on the ground and took her hand and grabbed as much octopus as she can shove in her mouth. But it's a very unique way of making it. And of course, I know how to make it that way, the way they make it on the streets in Greece. And it takes a while to learn how to cook these things, but it's hard to get the right octopus around here. The only place I can get it is Tarpon Springs because you have 2 types of octopus. One is gray and one is a little bit reddish. The gray is on the sand, and if it's got a little reddish on the tentacles, then it's from the rocks, and that's the more flavorful octopus. Anyway, I'll talk all day about food.
That's great. You can talk all day. That's
I love it. So I want to kind of just take kind of put it in reverse because we don't have reverse on our motorcycles. But, if we could, let's take a step back. How did you get so interested and intrigued? Obviously, it's in the culture, but not everybody kind of just grabs onto all of that. So how'd you get started with that?
Well, I come from a very bad childhood, and my mother and father, it was an arranged marriage. My father was not supposed to have children. And then he was chased 17 states by immigration. It's a very long story, but we lived with my mother, and I actually hated my father when I was a kid because we were poor. And then as I got older, I decided I needed a relationship with him, and I built a relationship with him. I had a great relationship with him. But by doing that, I started pursuing my heritage because there was something about my heritage that I always liked. But I couldn't pinpoint it. Then the first time I went to Greece, I literally stepped off the plane. In Greece, it's kind of weird. My wife was she was not happy because they had tanks with guys, machine guns, patrolling the runway, and you get off on the tarmac. So she wasn't a happy camper that first trip there. But when I stepped foot on Greek soil, something happened to me, and I can't explain it.
I love that because I have felt that way one time in my life, and I was by myself. Chuck wasn't with me, and I've tried to explain that to him. And he's from the South, and we lived in the South. And when I went back for the first time, years and years and years later, there was almost a chill through my spine as I got off. It's almost like you just know you're home.
It's life changing. I get it. And I've been there 11 times. I would like to go to northern Greece. I've been to southern Greece 11 times. I know it very well. Been to many islands, but I wanted to go to Thessaloniki. And, it's funny. I always said I would love to take my Harley over there and just ride all over the Baltic Peninsula and then go over into Italy, hit Florence and then Sicily and Rome. But I don't know if I want to ship my bike over there. And I don't know if I want to become a monument over there. You'll notice there's a lot of monuments along the roads there. And that's for people dying.
Right. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Oh, man. I could talk for hours, all kinds of stories and stuff that happened over there.
That's wonderful.
But yeah.
That's the exciting stuff I think about having you on the show is that you've got all of that diversity to share with us. So
and I would still keep it on the bucket list. Heck, you never know, right?
That's right. Well, I'm thinking that maybe we need to go with him and go to that Italy. So we need to get to Sicily for you, Chuck. So
you know what? I tell people if you go to Greece as a tourist, you're not really going to see Greece.
Right.
If you go there with somebody who knows it and can take you to where the tourists don't go, that's when you really feel it. And we would find beaches that were secluded, had a little tavernas there, and you just enjoy it. Of course, everything's clothing optional there, in the beaches. And, of course, I don't look.
Of course not. And if you didn't, I think you're nuts. So anyway.
And some of the food you get. I mean, I remember being at my father's place, and 2:00 in the morning, the fishermen would be knocking on the gate, and they would come in with a catch, and he said, "Okay, take it down to Anthony's," and they take it, wake that poor guy up, and next thing you know, we were having that for dinner that night. I mean, the food over there is just unbelievable.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a neat story, though, that really connected you to your roots and created a passion that you never even knew existed. So I think that's phenomenal.
Yes, and now, of course, I was in a Greek band for a while because I'm a percussionist and a drummer, and I love the dance, Greek dancing. I say I'm like Elvis. I hear Greek music, my legs just go. Usually at the festival, the Greek festival here in Sarasota, I'm there all 4 days and nights, and I just love it. It's my weekend. And I go there and I enjoy my friends and dance and have a great time.
When is that normally, Steve? Because that's the first I've heard of it. I've never even heard of it.
It's always the second weekend in February.
Okay,
always.
So we missed it. Now
So
we got
we
to wait
missed
a whole
it this
year.
year. Goodness.
Almost.
Yeah. I was
Next year,
there.
then.
Yeah, I usually bartend because the guys know, and if I hear the song that I like, I do a dance with some people. It's choreographed. It's called Unapologetic. When that song comes on, I'm out of it. I'm just stay out of my way, make a path to the dance floor because I'm on my way.
Was that around about the same time that Thunder by the Bay was happening when we saw you there?
Yeah, it's usually Thunder by the Bay. I think is a couple of weeks before.
Oh, okay.
The Greek festival. I think it's before, but yeah, that was. We almost didn't go to Thunder by the Bay this year, and we wound up going, and then by chance seeing the two of you there.
Yeah, that was great.
It was wonderful to reconnect. Yeah, we haven't seen you in quite some time. So life
That's how we're here.
takes its curve. Absolutely right. So that one reacquaintance has now developed into us, talking more detailed about all sorts of fun stuff. So thank you so much.
Getting to know you a lot better, in fact, right now. A lot of things we didn't know about you. But when we're riding motorcycles, usually we meet up and then we go sit down and we ride. We can't talk too much while we ride, and then we sit down and have lunch, and that's an opportunity to get to know one another. But usually we're just too busy just having loads of fun.
Well, yeah, and it's not intimate where you have two or three couples. You've got a bunch of people. Some personalities are challenging. They just want to eat and go, and others want to hang out. And so, but yeah, it's more intimate when it's just two or three couples.
Right. Yeah. Yep. You really get to know each other. So absolutely right. So riding, I think you had mentioned initially, you're riding a 2010 Screaming Eagle. I know I missed the model.
Ultra Classic Screaming Eagle CVO.
Okay. So nice ride. I think that's a little different. Were you riding a Softail when we did that ride?
No, I rode a Road King Classic.
Road King, okay. All right. I knew it wasn't a limited or any big motorcycle like what you just described. So, cool. So you've had some changes in your motorcycling and obviously riding in luxury now.
Part of the CVO family.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'd say I love it. I'll shoot you a picture of it real fast. But I absolutely love my bike, and I just wish I could ride more.
Absolutely. Life is busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we all thirst for and want to do more, and we're working on some things to work less and ride more. Hopefully, we'll get that out here real soon. But yeah, that's what it's all about. If we can do as much as riding as we can, hey man, that would be the best.
Right.
Well, I agree, and of course, I think we were talking last time we spoke on the phone about we have an RV, and we're actually selling the RV because we're going to buy one with more slide out. We absolutely love the RV life and being able to either take the golf cart in our trailer behind the RV or the motorcycle. I remember we went up to Live Oak with the RV and we brought the motorcycle, and we wound up going about 100 miles that one afternoon and went all the way to the Georgia border. Then we went to Lake City. We had a great ride. I mean, we were just flying down the road and just enjoying the wind.
I know you created a little bit of a bug in us, and so we had mentioned that it's been in our mindset, it's been in our hearts, it's been in we've talked a lot about it, and actually since that time things are starting to develop a little more quickly than we anticipated for the RV life for us as well. So we're super stoked about that, and we will share once things really kind of come to fruition for sure. So we're excited to jump on that bandwagon with you. Now I want to shift gears because when we talked to you, and you and Sharon were out RVing at that time, like you said, and as soon as things changed because of this coronavirus, you were really, quite honestly, the first person that came to my mind, because I remember hearing that the state parks were closing, and I wasn't sure whether or not you were RVing in a state park or not, but you and Sharon were the first ones that said, "Oh no, you guys are trying to go get some R&R and unwind and distance," and all of a sudden now this may mean that you've got to change that strategy and that plan for the weekend. Did that impact you guys?
It did, because as you know, I had the virus, and I caught it at one of two places. I either caught it at the RV park in Arcadia, when I was in the office, because nobody was 6 feet apart. But we had a wonderful trip, and that's when we talked last on the phone while we were there at Peace River. Or I got it from the supermarkets, because my wife wanted me to go out and look for toilet paper and paper towels and other paper products. And I was going to every store I possibly could. And I think that put myself more at risk. And of course, I wound up with the virus. I can't be 100% sure, but I don't know anybody else that's got it. I don't know anybody who knows anybody that's got it that's in Florida. I know New Jersey and New York, but not here. So I am truly blessed.
I was going to say you're one in like a trillion or something.
Oh my God!
A few in this area, truly, because it hasn't been a really big spread in our local area, and that's interesting because I remember on our call that when you guys were out in Arcadia, Chuck had mentioned because the crisis was taking place, it was shaping up very quickly, and he had mentioned if you'd been out to the Walmart in that area to see whether or not the shelves were stocked. And you hadn't been yet, so that's interesting.
No, and one of the things is once we set up the RV, we're set up, and unless we take the golf cart to a close enough store or we bring the motorcycle, we're pretty much there. And I felt, and we talked about this, I felt that was the best place for us to be because we were out in nature. We weren't bothering. It was just me, my wife, and our dog. We love taking him camping. He's a good camping dog. He's our tripod. We have two tripod animals, and he just loves it. So we figured we were in the best place that we could be. Now you can't go anywhere with the RV, for a while, which is fine. We're going to be putting ours on the market anyway. We have our eyes on another one, but I'm not going to buy one unless I can sell ours.
Sure.
We just love it. It's a great lifestyle. If we can go. Our goal was one weekend a month. So last year, 2019, we actually did 10 trips. And that was nice.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Some of them were just for weekends down in Venice or in Arcadia. Gotcha. We went to Lake Waldina in Ocala. That was wonderful, right on the lake with a western view. And then we went to Live Oak for New Year's. That was a great time. And we just love it. You have to have a golf cart, though. Some of these campsites are huge, and it's just, and especially you go at Christmas time, everybody's got it decorated. You go around and you talk to people, and we went to what they called a camp crawl. The weekend that you and I talked when we were there, we didn't realize there was a camp crawl. We didn't even know what one was. And I've heard of a bar crawl, but not a camp crawl.
Yeah.
And there was about 50 campsites. People had booze, food, everything. Oh my God, we had a blast. And of course, our dog is a tripod. We put the back seat down and put his bed there, and he sits on the back there and watches. Everybody comes over, and of course, they all love Harley. And they find out he's a tripod, and people were coming to our site to see Harley. And he's just. Everybody loves them.
That's great.
So, that was a lot of fun.
Man. Sounds like it. Got to meet a lot of different people, probably try some different foods, drinks, and everything. Sounds wonderful.
We met one guy down in Venice, and it turns out he lives right behind us. Him and his wife, great people.
That's crazy.
What a small world.
So, and of course, we like to relax. We like to drink. We like to cook good food. Yeah. And usually we'll take turns cooking meals. Like if you guys went with us, and we went for 2 full days, one would be in charge of a breakfast and a dinner, and the other one is breakfast and a dinner.
Sure.
And this way you don't have to bring a ton of food, and you don't have to cook all the meals. So it works out really well.
Yeah. Sounds like it. So,
and the last time we went into Arcadia too, there was a food truck there.
oh my
And
gosh.
that was good.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I got a food truck. So we felt bad for these people. They were down in Fort Myers for a 3-week function that was canceled. And it was the husband, the wife, and the kid, the son. And we felt bad for them. So we supported them and ate a bunch of meals there and just brought a bunch of our food home that we had in the freezer. So
that's great. So as someone, it's really one of few people in our local area that have had an impact or been affected by it. How has that impacted you? Did you start to have the symptoms that they're, talking about publicly?
Well,
Did you not? Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, well, my back started bothering me a little bit. Then on the 23rd, we took our animals to the vet where our daughter works, and I was fine. Then at nighttime, I had a low-grade fever, a 101.6, and then I developed a dry cough. And I had a fever for 6 nights in a row. During the day, it was off and on, but at the early evenings when it really came on. And I took a lot of cough drops to suppress the coughing. And then I wound up with the hiccups for 6 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I say I went to, and that was because I ate a spicy pickle. It had nothing to do with the coronavirus. And so yeah.
I'm like, that's a symptom I haven't heard of before. So
oh my God.
Put it on the list.
I'll make sure your listeners know that. The pickles are okay. But, an empty stomach. And so I went through 9 days of hell between the virus and the hiccups. And now I feel great. Like today, we've been doing yard work. We're re-landscaping the house. And I have to wait 14 days from the 25th before I can take the test again. So hopefully Friday I'll be able to take the test again. And I need 2 negative results in a row, no closer than 5 days before they say I'm in the clear. So I can tell you it was kind of like having a mild flu.
Okay.
If I were to give you something that you can relate it to, it's like a mild flu. And, but I didn't have a high fever. The worst fever I had one day was a 102.2. But I was wrapped up in a quilt watching Netflix, and I was sweating, I remember as a kid, my father used to give us Ouzo and wrap us in a blanket and make us sweat it out whenever we had a fever.
That's how I do it too. Yep. That's exactly how I do it.
Yep.
So if you don't mind, part of the things that goes through my mind, and maybe it goes through some of our listeners' minds. So what did you do? Did you call the number? Did you show up somewhere? Tell us a little bit about how that process worked and what they gave you, if anything, that kind of thing.
Well, I kind of figured something wasn't right. So I contacted my doctor's office, and they said I cannot take the test for the coronavirus, but they did want to test me for the flu and for the strep throat. I know strep throat is like eating glass. I knew I didn't have strep throat. So I go to this place on Manatee Avenue, and they come out in a hazmat suit. You can't get out of your car. And they do your test, and then 10 minutes later they come out, and she said I was negative on both. Then she asked me if I was high risk, and I said yes, that my daughter is an LPN. She worked in his doctor's office, that they did testing. And that the guy, I used that teledoc thing, and he felt that my daughter may have brought it home on her.
Oh, okay.
So I told them what this guy said. So she goes, okay. Now, at first they said they had no test. Well, all of a sudden she has a test, and she did the test. Well, I didn't get the results until 9 days later. By the time I got the results, I'm feeling good.
Right.
Wow.
9 days.
I took some leave. They had me on muscle relaxers for the hiccups. And outside of that, just lots of fluids, lots of rest. There was nothing they can do for me. Unless I was having respiratory problems, there's nothing they can do for you. You just got to ride out the storm.
Oh, okay. So no respiratory issues causing you to need any help with breathing. So, it's just a cough, which is an interesting concept. So we're I think everyone's hearing the worst case scenarios of it all. And, but you're not in that risk age category, I don't think quite yet, but and you're fairly healthy. So, everyone's worried about, if I get it, am I going to be that worst case scenario? And some may and some won't. But, I think you have demonstrated that it's not, it could be not as bad as everything we're hearing in the media. So it's nice to hear.
And you've heard that they said some people probably had it and didn't even know it.
Right.
Right.
You know, so yeah, Sharon, when we were camping, she didn't feel good for 2 days. You know, just felt a little under the weather, nothing major.
Okay.
For all I know, she could have had it. I don't know.
Right. So she hasn't been tested or.
You know, well, she got tested, and it turned out the swab thing was the older test, so they wouldn't do it. So today, her and my daughter drove to Raymond James Stadium to get tested.
Okay.
Okay.
And I have to get tested Thursday or later, so I couldn't go there with them today.
Okay.
So
because you're in the same household, you know, is the understanding, I guess, in the medical world that they probably have had it to some degree, and it's just a matter of, you know, making sure you all isolate and everything properly so it doesn't keep going back
It'll
and forth.
be interesting to hear those results, to
That's
find out.
absolutely, to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because, like I said, I'm a fairly healthy guy, and, you know, you hear all the horror stories right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people dying are people who have some underlying issues. Mm-hmm. Now you're hearing about younger people dying. Well, you know, I don't know the circumstances, so I really can't comment. All I know is we're doing everything we're supposed to do. I mean, we even took the dog to the dog park yesterday in the morning, and there were about 20 people there between a large dog pen and a little dog pen. Mm-hmm. And I was the only one with a mask on.
Oh.
You know, and while people are 5, 6 feet apart, you're still, if you're talking and somebody's downwind from you, it's like, what the heck? You know, so, and then I even commented to my wife over a week ago, I'm in Walmart, and I think I saw 2 people with a mask on out of all the people that are hanging out in Walmart. And, you know, and one guy was walking, he had a sweatsuit on, he had his stomach exposed, looked like he was sweating, no mask on, and he's walking into Walmart.
Wow.
You know, so people aren't taking it seriously. So we are, though. We've been doing everything we're supposed to do. We've been staying in the house. We have no need to go to the store. Neighbors actually, my wife's going to make cookies tonight, and our neighbor's going to get us some butter.
Oh.
You know, I gave him some of my sauce. So it's
barter. The food bartering's happening right now with the neighbors. I love it.
You'll get better value from that.
Yeah, wait till you have my sauce. You know, it's unlike anything you will have ever had.
Oh, gosh. Well, I can't wait. And it was so thoughtful for you to think of us and have some for us. So we're so excited.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah. And another thing, you know, you mentioned, you said you took some leave. And then there was that big thing, you know, I even posted something on Facebook about it. Something people said, don't take a leave. But you took a leave and you're a survivor. Didn't make it worse for you.
Yeah, I took a leave. The teledoc, I forget his name.
Right.
You know, he was from Pakistan or wherever, but he was a really nice guy. And he said to take a leave, so that's what I did. I was taking Tylenol before because my back was bothering me. And I said to my wife, I think I got a kidney stone because of the way my back was bothering me. And it turns out that wasn't it. But I swear that's, you know, at the time, that's what I thought. I honestly did not think that me would ever get the coronavirus because I was taking the precautions and, you know, I'm healthy and it really hadn't hit in Florida, you know, up until that time. So really, if you look at it, they say it can stay up to 9 days on any surface and it can take up to 2 weeks before it shows itself in your system. So the 23rd was the first time in March. So really any day in the month of March, I could have gotten this.
Right. So what is interesting about that, I think, is because knowing you, just who I know, is that I would have anticipated you caught it through your profession because you're a realtor and you're with people all the time and in those close proximities and opening and touching door handles and all the things that realtors do. So I would have truly anticipated that would have been probably more likely where you could have gotten it, but interesting.
Yeah, well, let me talk about that for a moment. First of all, your business comes and goes in waves when you're in real estate. You know, you work commission only. And, you know, it's feast or famine. So if you don't know how to manage your money, then you're in the wrong business. Right. You know, I always say there's an extra towel at the car wash you can wipe them dry when they come out. I understand, you know, about being around people a lot, flu season. So this particular time I was showing houses to a very dear friend of ours, and I brought the hand sanitizer with me. And each house, I gave a dab of hand sanitizer, you know, so... Yeah.
Good for you.
We did what we had to do, you know, and you know, it's weird. Like, I don't even know if this is like a chicken pox. You get it once and you're done, or if you can get it again. I've got to find that out. Right. You know, I keep hearing both sides of that story. But as a realtor, especially Barry Grooms is the state president for Florida Realtors, a very dear friend of mine, and he just put out a video too, and we're very concerned over this. And I'm a state instructor for Florida as well, and so we're not teaching classes. We're just now doing some online classes. I don't do them. I'm more the in-person type instructor, but we've taken all of the precautions, and of course we're doing you hear a lot of realtors doing virtual showings, and we don't do open houses anymore.
Right.
And I can't see me and my wife looking for a house and me saying, "Oh, honey, look, I just bought a house for us today. Look, here's the pictures."
Right. Yeah. Let's do a 360 view of that room, and I'll show you what it looks like. Don't get it.
Talking about grounds for divorce. If she can't kick the tires, we're not buying a house.
So true.
I totally get that.
But it is a challenging business to be in during these times. And a lot of realtors are going to be suffering financially. Yeah. We've had a lot of new realtors getting into business. I do the new member orientation for the association here locally. And, you have a lot of people getting into business, and they're really getting in at a very challenging time.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you've got a full line of credentials. I noticed on that email you sent over to us. I mean, I think you had 2 pages of credentials or something that's at the bottom of that email. You want to share with our listeners some of the things that you do, Steve?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. And, it's one of those things where you can't only think of your paycheck. You've got to give back. Mm-hmm. And I've always believed in improving leadership skills and your knowledge and education. Always believed in that. So some of my credentials would be currently I'm on the board of directors for the local association and also for the state of Florida Realtors. I'm a Florida Realtor faculty, which means I'm an instructor. I was the first male president of the Women's Council of Realtors in Manatee County.
Interesting.
Well, that's quite a position to be in, the lead male of the women's group. Boy, how did you position that, mister?
It's a tough life, I'll tell you.
Oh, someone's got to tread the way.
That's a story in and of itself, I'm sure.
Imagine. Yep.
Oh, we could talk for hours. But I also won the President's Award for the Association in 2016, the Spirit Award for RE/MAX Alliance Group in 2019, I believe. And, I've done a bunch of other things. I've been on the board of directors for the Humane Society in Manatee County. That's why I've got all these tripods and other, rescue animals. And I was also on the board of directors many years ago for CareNet in Minnesota, which was a Christian-based pregnancy center. And one of the things I talk about when I teach the new members that are newly licensed realtors, I always tell them, give back. If everybody gave back into one charity function, everybody, just think of how wonderful this world would be.
No doubt about it.
That's so true.
I'm not saying you've got to put a lot of money into it. Some of it requires no money. It just requires time.
Right.
But if everybody did something, this world would be a wonderful place. So, yes, you look at my email, and I've got a lot more credentials and all, but I hate talking about those things, but we are a self-promoting business.
Correct.
And I just like to give back, and I love leadership roles, and I love being around winners. And I'm actually developing a speech about that, but I love being around winners.
I love it.
I always said I wanted to be the dumbest person in the room. Because if I'm the dumbest person in the room, I'm surrounded by greatness.
There you go. Absolutely. It's a whole different perspective. It's bigger than the glass half full, half empty concept. I'm surrounding myself with those that I want to be like and be more like and really learn from. So that's a fantastic way to look at at things. So in closing, we obviously are cut for time. So I just want to make sure that we get everything in because this was very last minute.
We can keep going like you said.
And we certainly could.
And we'll have Steve back on. So,
sir, I definitely have a feeling that Steve will be back in a couple of different capacities moving forward. So we just want to thank you. Is there anything else? First of all, we want to make sure that everyone knows how to reach you as a professional realtor in this time because realtors, whether people realize it or not, are still essential personnel. Right. So
we are are essential. We are business for self. And because of, we didn't even talk about my experiences, which include former real estate appraiser, mortgage broker, short sale negotiator, trainer. So I have a very well-rounded experience in this business. And, but the easiest way to get in touch with me is you can Google me, but I work for RE/MAX and my phone number is 941-518-6450. And of course, my email is real original, steve.zeris@gmail.com.
Zeris. Now spell that because people may not know on the radio, if you would.
Yeah, that would be Z as in zebra, E-R-I-S as in Sam. typical Greek name ends in an S.
All right. Wonderful. Yep. And that is Steve the Greek. So thank you so much for joining us. Chuck, did you have anything else?
Well, I got a tons more.
Of course.
We could, like Steve said, we could keep going on and on.
We could talk for days, probably.
But we actually met through the local hog chapter, and that's how we met Steve. And then we ran into Steve, as we talked about, at Thunder by the Bay.
Well, you wanted to explain hog, because some people might be thinking we're talking about Weight Watchers.
Especially if they saw my picture, right?
Oh, goodness. That's too funny.
Humor, as you can see.
Yeah, and we love it. That's what makes the world go round. So the local hog chapter previously was actually Manatee River's hog chapter, so Harley Owners Group, and they've now converted to Minnesota because they joined forces with Sarasota under one umbrella of ownership and leadership, and so it's now Minnesota hog chapter. So, and we're probably very similar in the fact that we just don't have a chance to get out and ride much or as often as we'd like, but those foundational relationships that you make in the riding community, as everyone that's listening to the show today can see, is that, we're not just a motorcyclist, even though this is Biker Life Radio with Chuck and Deb. That's what we love to do. And that's the common thread that sometimes just brings us to know one another. Yep. But it's not really who we are in our biggest form. And so there's so much more to what we do other than just riding the motorcycle. So we're so grateful that we've had a chance to meet and reconnect and then have you on the show.
And we're even more grateful, Steve, that you're doing well.
Absolutely. That's the most important
when we first heard, we had some concerns because we didn't know exactly what your situation was, but you sound great. Sounds like you're doing good. And we're so grateful and thankful that you really are, and things are getting better for you.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Yep, you bet. Well, stay safe and stay healthy, and please keep everyone informed as how things go with your healing process and getting over it. So, we send our love and hugs to Sharon as well.
Yes, and we'll be in touch, Steve.
Yeah, we'll talk real soon.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you so much, man. Take care.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Hi, Rider Coach Deb here. Just wanted to take a quick minute and share with you something that I have found that is a phenomenal safety item that every rider that rides with a helmet will want to have for their own safety and protection on the road. It's called the InView Wireless Brake and Turn Signal Light. It's designed to attach to your helmet, as I mentioned, and it syncs up directly with your brake lights and turn signals so that the car drivers that just seem to miss the signals that we put on will now be able to see it because it's right at eye level on your helmet. They're designed with ultra bright LEDs. As I mentioned, it is programmable and it works in conjunction with your brake lights and turn signals from the motorcycle. It's very easy to install and simple to use. So if you would like to find out more and get information about the InView, be sure and visit chuckndebshow.com/InView, and in the ordering process, put in coupon code BIKERLIFE. Again, chuckndebshow.com/InView, and utilize coupon code BIKERLIFE to get a great discount on the InView.
All right, now it's time for
Dutch Van Alstin, the author of Demons Rising, the story of the Wayward Scout, book number 1 in the Life Behind Bars book series, and his up-and-coming book number 2 is Rebellious Youth, the story of the lost child.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it. It's time for Raw and Unapologetic.
Of course, I still respect you. Is your husband home? Okay, I'm sorry. Where am I? Okay. Oh, okay, here we go. 'Tis I, lover of motorcycles, eater of barbecue ribs, and all-around swell guy. Speaking... I'm sorry, I'm still half awake. Speaking to you with my 2 usual co-hosts, Eloquence and Grace, and we speak from the Sound Studios, known as Dutch's Man Cave, located in his penthouse along the Sun Coast of Florida. As stated, I am Dutch Van Alstin. I am the author of Demons Rising, the story of the Wayward Scout, book number 1 in the Life Behind Bars book series, and I am raw and unapologetic. And I'll add fully weight to that now. And I'm also the author of the soon-to-be-published book number 2 of the Life Behind Bars book series, Rebellious Youth, the story of the lost child. That book is now in the hands of the very talented copy editor, Ms. Joyce Mokry. I've heard nothing thus far, which means either A, she is crying too hysterically at my third-rate attempt at grammar and my use of split infinitives and wading through my misuse of gerunds and my gratuitous use of commas and all that kind of stuff. And all that has her so frazzled that she's crawled inside a bottle of wine, or my writing is very polished and there's no need for corrections. So I do hope that nice lady has plenty of Kleenex and a working corkscrew. I am working on the cover for book 2 as we speak. Given that the book's subtitle is The Lost Child, Rebellious Youth, The Story of the Lost Child, I decided to have a cover reflect that. It's going to be one lone biker sitting on my shovel head who is around the age of the main character, Elf. And I'm going to have him either sitting on it or leaning on it, but either pose, he's going to be looking down toward the ground a little bit. And my very talented graphic designer will etch in I don't want to say ghostly, but like a spectral image of a ragged little boy, 5 years old or so, and he's going to be looking up at the man on the bike. Then the backdrop will be an authentic-looking biker bar, so authentic that it'll be a real one. That looks like one because, well, it is. And that, of course, is my very favorite haunt, the Ride Hard Saloon in Bradenton, Florida, owned by my friend Jesse James. It doesn't just look authentic, it just plain is. And my friend Jesse, he is just keen on the whole idea. So as I said, I need a guy who fits that biker persona around Elf's age, which again is in the early 40s. Therefore, clearly, an old, fat, bald guy like yours truly can't do it. I put out a request on Facebook, and I got to tell you, the response was overwhelming. I was very surprised. There are some bad-looking, rough dudes out there, and it really was hard to pick one, I got to say. But I had to. I really did juxtapose a lot of the pictures, and I studied who would capture what I was looking for most, and strangely enough, it turned out to be a Canadian. But I want to thank many of you for your participation. Sugar Schaefer had a good picture. Will McGuigan had a good one. Lee Haygood, Chris Wages. Just too many to count. But the Canuck I picked is Kit Andrew, and he too personifies exactly what I'm looking for. And he's graciously accepted to help me out. And he's going to put up with a long photo shoot with yours truly, with the ever so talented photographer Jen Jay-Z the photographer. I just can't do that last name. This is going to take place April 11th, and I hope early enough a day before the alcoholic beverages permeate the crew, because we got to get this done. So, on to new news, which is old news. Some moron... Huh? No, dear, I didn't mean you. No, I didn't call you. Nope, didn't say your name. Okay. Let me try this. Some woman with a killer bod. Nope, still not talking to you, Bubbles. This is actually kind of fun. Anyway, I had a person say to me, how come you don't talk about the corona? And it was right about then is when I slugged him. Because I don't want to talk about, in the precious few minutes that I have on the air, I understand it's extremely serious. And it's nothing to take lightly. And I encourage anyone who doesn't have to leave their home not to do so for a while. I get it. People are dying. That's a fact. But I can't be part of the hysteria or the negativity. I watch as politicians try to cash in both financially and trying to just like strip away human rights. $35 million for the Kennedy School of Arts attempted to find its way into the relief bill. Mayors and sheriffs were trying to suspend gun sales until the, quote, crisis was over. What the fornicate does one have to do with the other? Nothing. It's just an excuse to gin up fear so politicians can manipulate people into just panicking and agreeing to anything. I mean, this is not the first time this has been tried on the world stage. Example, do you see your paycheck weekly and all that money that the government, quote unquote, withholds, and then they graciously give back you some of your own money at the end of the year? That withholding never happened until Franklin Roosevelt said, because of the war effort, we need to have a steady stream of tax revenue, and we just can't allow the citizens to pay what they owe at the end of the year anymore. But once the war is over, It'll go back to the way it was. Okay? 75 years later, the Nazis are gone, the Japanese surrendered, the sailor kissed the nurse, it's over. And yet, fear gave us acceptance of such things like this. I mean, all the time. The Patriot Act after 9/11, etc. So I wasted enough time on this. I try to entertain and sometimes inform, but I'm not piling on the panic. Okay? There's a good use of alliteration for you. Panic people, again, look at that alliteration. Panic people develop like a learned helplessness, and then they lose their objectivity, and that ruins what should be a natural skepticism. Researching this, or that, or the vaccine, treatments, prevention, etc. I mean, not only leads to bad information, but just added stress you don't need. Yes, it's serious, but don't let it consume your every waking thought, folks, okay? And leave the medical mask for the healthcare workers, please, okay? You don't need one for Walmart. Masks are primarily so you don't spread it to others, not the other way around. And that's not my opinion. That's a Dr. Fauci thing or Fauci thing or whatever his name is, the little short guy with the glasses. The fact is, as overly glib as this may sound, the key is wash your hands well and do it often. Keep your hands and fingers out of your eyes and mouth. Minimize contact. Everything else is just add into the stress. It really is. There's a difference between understanding the gravity of something and being flat out scared. There's a term in psychology, okay? Stay awake. Don't be me at the beginning of this segment. All right, just bear with me for a second. There's a term called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive distortion. Cognitive dissonance is a little different. Cognitive distortion, in layman's terms, let me start with this. Is why I don't give seminars across the globe on this stuff. But here's an indisputable truth for you, okay? Are you ready? People do not react to situations and experiences. No? That doesn't make any sense? Well, here it is. Think about this. People react to their interpretation of the situation or experience. It's just plain true. I love that episode of Seinfeld where there was a minor fire in the trash can, and George started screaming, "Fire! Fire!" and ran and knocked down this little old lady with a walker while others just acted calmly. It's the exact same situation, and allowing for outliers such as people's past trauma, blah, 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 it's pretty much the exact same problem for everyone in the kitchen. So George reacted not to the fire, but his interpretation of it, which was catastrophic, as his character did often. I mean, that's an example of cognitive distortion, misreading the seriousness of something and reacting to that misreading of it. It creates an unreasonable or like a disproportionate response to things, or at the very least, like on the edges of the norm. I mean, perhaps different but not extreme. Now, most people aren't George Costanza, and they have a healthy cognitive response process, believe it or not. Most people really are basically reasonable and moderately emotionally balanced. I may not be one of them, I understand. I mentioned to a friend in Rochester a few nights ago that I was staying in on the weekend and just writing, spending some time with the girls, reading, just trying to entertain myself. I do take my motorcycle for a ride, which endangers nobody, nor does it go against any state or federal recommendation. I hear others say that's not true, but that is just their cognitive distortion that keeps them from understanding no social rules are being broken by Dutch riding his motorcycle. All right? They're just not. But anyway, she said to me, "I thought you really didn't care about this corona crap." And I said, well, I mean, that's not true. I'm keeping contact at a minimum. I'm washing my hands. I'm not being reckless and possibly hurting others. I mean, there's a difference between respecting the gravity of any situation and being fearful. I just absolutely refuse to be guided by fear in anything. I don't like that feeling, and that usually happens only when any behavior I can where I can't change the situation. I find out my girlfriend is cheating. Now that would cause fear, believe it or not. Men will say it's anger, but anger is not an emotion, contrary to what y'all think. It's a reaction to an emotion, which is almost always fear. But if that happened, and it has, it's fearful in an odd way. because there's nothing I can fix or prevent, and I am powerless over it. That's scary. Let me give you a few quick. That's the time. All right. Let me give you some examples of where I wasn't afraid, but very respectful of the dangers I was in. Okay, this is an example of a proper response to a situation without minimizing the trouble. You know, we don't want simple answers to complex problems, but sometimes that's all we have for now. I mean, that's just the way it is. One of my accidents, the one in Rochester, because that's the only one I can really remember a bit. I mentioned that some ditzy moron. Nope, still not talking to you, Bubbles. Nope, a different ditzy moron. Yeah, she hit me. I know I mentioned this. She hit me from behind on the interstate. Of what I do remember, I remember being like confused, but natural instincts let me know that I'm involved in something bad and not fully understandable. But do you know what I recall? I recall, of course, sliding and rolling down the interstate, you know, as the pavement tore off my skin, and consciously thinking, I need to land, for lack of a better word, under the Monroe Avenue Bridge and off the highway, because I'm going to get run over if I just lie there in the interstate. People are just zooming up and down, you know, it's inevitable. And I really tried to will myself to the right while sliding, and there I landed. I mean, it may have been pure luck, maybe not, but I also knew to keep my head off the road as best I could. I mean, my point is, I reacted in a way that didn't involve panic. Fire! Fire! You know, and even as I lied there, I had the wherewithal to get my helmet off, which didn't have a scratch on it, by the way. And, of course, what do you think my first reaction was? Like any good biker. Bubbles is exactly right. How is my motorcycle? First thing I thought of as I'm laying there with, you know, blood all over the place and parts of my body that are pointing in directions that shouldn't have been. And I want to know how my bike was, and can you get it out of the highway so it's safe? And the next thing I knew is I did not want to go to Rochester City Hospital. I insisted the ambulance take me to Strong Memorial, which was way across town. I'm telling you, if I was shot in the parking lot of City Hospital, I would insist on being transferred elsewhere. I mean, I would take Dr. Nick Riviera over that place. And a little Simpsons humor for y'all. And what do you think the other... what time we got here? The other situation I want to discuss involved me in the club days alone. I got surrounded one night by a not friendly club, by 6 members of their club and a little old me, insisting that I take my patch off. And in this situation, again, I reacted knowing full well, oh my God, I'm in trouble here. What the hell are you doing? Put the knife down. No. Use your finger. I get it. You don't actually use a knife when you're symboling cut. Okay? We've talked about this. All right. Bubbles is saying I don't have enough time to finish. I know. I tend to bloviate at times. Okay, I'm going to tell you what. We're going to do a part 2 of Dutch next week, all right? Let's pick this conversation back up next week because I do want to tell the story. All right? Because it's pertinent and relevant to what I'm talking about not panicking and adjusting your mind to what's going on, knowing it's serious, but not panicking, all right? So, all right, so we'll do part 2 next week, all right? So until then, folks, enjoy life as much as you can, all right? Things will go back to normal someday. Don't buy into the hysteria that will never go back to interacting and such. Humans are social creatures by nature, and this too shall pass. All right, until then, just be careful, aware, but don't let it consume your every waking moment, please. All right, and I will finish that story next week because it is an excellent example about being respectful of my current danger without resorting to panic, which is always a wrong answer. All right, perfect time to end this. I'm calling it a day. Don't forget to like on my Life Behind Bars book series Facebook page. Please visit my website, www.dutchvanalstin.com, and peruse my book. Sign up for my newsletter. Hit like on Biker Life Radio and the Chuck N Deb Show. And remember, they are 2 different pages, please. And check out my Facebook page because I am going to offer my book up front and pay me later due to the whole people having little to no disposable income but need to fill their time in with something. And a good book is a great start. So I'm going to give people like till mid-July to even pay me. I just want to get my book in other people's hands who need to fill their day up. So until next week, folks, remember, we can learn a lot from the weather. It pays no attention to criticism by a bunch of whiners. And neither should you. And from my bourbon-soaked brain to your ears, this is Yabba Dabba Dutch signing off.
You've been listening to Biker Life Radio with Chuck and Deb, heard each Wednesday afternoon right here on 1490 AM WWPR. We thank you for listening and invite you to join us next week.